Saudi Arabia and Iran's foreign ministers met in Beijing to affirm their intentions to resume diplomatic ties. And there are talks now about reopening embassies, renewing flights, establishing bilateral investments, and essentially talking through the issues through dialogue. However, the reality is that the resumption of diplomatic ties between Iran and Saudi Arabia is much more a temporary truce than it is a transformative breakthrough in the region. And here's why. Consider why the tensions have been there in the first place between Saudi and Iran. From Saudi Arabia's perspective, Iran has been forming a pincer on the kingdom via militias in Iraq to the north, the Hashd al-Sha'bi and the like, Iran mainland to the east, and Yemen's Houthis to the south. When Iran has sought to lash out at Saudi, the rockets are fired not from Iran, but from its allied militias in Iraq to the north or Yemen to the south. In this truce, there is no indication that Iran is going to retreat in any shape or form from these arenas. Instead, all signs indicate that Iran's allies are going to become further entrenched and even recognized politically by Riyadh. Saudi Arabia is already in talks with the Houthis in Yemen over a political settlement and has summoned its Yemeni allies to Riyadh in what is expected to be a meeting in which they will be told to prepare for a political settlement with the Houthis. In Iraq, Iran's allies succeeded in fending off Muqtada Sadr's rebellion to form a government. Sadr had been courted by Saudi for some time and sought to strong-arm Iran into letting him form a government. In Syria, Assad is now being rehabilitated internationally. He's been to Oman, he's been to the UAE. In Lebanon, Saudi Arabia has tossed out its longtime ally Saad al-Hariri and has yet to decide on a new approach to tackle Iran's dominance through Hezbollah. In other words, as far as the geopolitical front is concerned, Iran is the clear winner, which begs the question as to why Saudi Arabia would agree to such a truce. And to this, there is only one realistic explanation. Bin Salman officially became Crown Prince in 2017. He embarked on a lavish tour of the US, showcasing Vision 2030 and making it absolutely clear who his preferred partners were in making Vision 2030 a reality. He wanted Western companies, Western help, Western investment, Western models in order to help him shape his social, cultural and economic revolution. 6 years later, none of that has materialized. Instead, Bin Salman found himself maligned after the murder of Khashoggi. He has found companies reluctant to set up in Saudi Arabia. Lots of memorandums of understanding with little subsequent substance. Lots of announcements of projects, but little in the way of actual building. COVID caused a global downturn in the economy, hampering investment at a time in which Bin Salman had a strong ally in the White House proactively protecting him from prosecution over Khashoggi. As COVID lifted, this powerful ally was toppled and Biden came to power, promising to make him a pariah, and companies were left uncertain for a long time over whether the Crown Prince would be prosecuted in US courts as Biden dragged his heels on the issue of diplomatic immunity, an issue that worried Bin Salman so much that he appointed himself Prime Minister 1 month before a US court was due to decide on the matter as to whether he had immunity or not. Bin Salman has also found the kingdom's credibility hurt by rocket attacks from Iran's allies, including high-profile strikes on oil facilities. The question marks over US security guarantees have only added to this uncertainty among companies as to whether Saudi is a viable investment. Bin Salman's frustrations over the slow economic progress of Vision 2030 have been clear. He has ordered that companies that do not make their regional headquarters in Saudi Arabia will not be able to bid for government projects in a bid to strong-arm them into setting up in the kingdom itself. He has imposed tariffs on trade with the UAE in a lashing out at companies seeking to use Dubai as their base of operations to do business in Saudi. In other words, Bin Salman wants breathing space to focus on Vision 2030. He wants a truce with Iran to create a stability that can ease investor concerns, and he wants a period of peace in which he can search for the ever-elusive investments that he badly needs in order to complete the mega projects of Vision 2030. Now this in itself then begs the question that if Bin Salman is struggling so much and Iran is apparently winning, why would Iran agree to a temporary truce with Saudi Arabia? And the reason is that Iran also needs breathing space to entrench its gains, to entrench its advantage over Saudi Arabia. Iran has been rocked by domestic protest. The sanctions continue to take their toll on the economy, to the extent that Iran has decided to begin applying pressure to Syria's Assad to start producing tangible economic rewards after Iran's efforts in rescuing his regime. It has raised the price of fuel it sells Assad, and moreover, Iran has had to wrestle with infighting amongst its allies in Iraq that threatened its grip on power after Muqtada Sadr demanded that he be given a turn to rule instead of once again playing a supporting role to another of Iran's favorites. In Yemen, the Houthis appear to have reached their limit in terms of what they can achieve militarily after being pushed back from the oil-rich province of Ma'rib. And Iran is keen to cement their gains via a political settlement rather than risk losing it all in a protracted conflict that might turn against the Houthis. In other words, Iran also wants breathing space in order to cement its gains, in order to cement its advantage. However, there is another reason that Iran wants breathing space, and that has to do with Turkey, which is asserting itself in areas that Iran considers its sphere of influence. In particular, Iran is concerned with Turkey's push into Iraqi Kurdistan and its support for Azerbaijan's military push to retake territories that it lost to Armenia. Tensions between Tehran and Baku have escalated to such an extent that videos have been circulating threatening drone attacks, and Baku has kicked out a number of Iranian diplomats. In other words, it's very possible that Iran wants a truce on the front with Saudi to focus on a more pressing front with Turkey and Azerbaijan. In making a truce with Iran, bin Salman wants breathing space, and his desperation to make Vision 2030 work means he is prepared to pay Iran a high price for it. Iran has won a lot from its aggressive foreign policy and also wants breathing space now to entrench and make those gains permanent. As for China, what about it? China is bin Salman's plan B that he never wanted to use, and Beijing knows it, and so does Washington.